if you're gambling, I don't view it as like a morally good thing, regardless of whether it's regulated or it's sanctioned by the state or not. I think that, like, if you die and you talk to Saint Peter or Jesus or Allah, you know, whenever you go to fucking heaven, and you say, oh well, I was only promoting gambling for, you know, the state, and it wasn't for like a private company. Like, I don't think that any of them would say, oh, okay, understandable, please come into heaven now. Like, it's very clearly a morally bad thing to do, regardless of, you know, whether it's sanctioned by the government or not. And so I don't really see, like, I don't see them having like a moral or ethical foundation to go after these gambling companies. I don't at all. And like, maybe this is unfair for me to say, but, or it's like too high-minded or, you know, like virtue signally for me to say this, but like, that's actually what my opinion on it is. Like, I think it's a universally, like, it's an indisputably morally bad thing to do that they're creating shades of gray in that don't actually exist.
Valve's promotion of games that glorify violence and guns helps fuel the dangerous epidemic of gun violence, particularly among young gamers who can become
It's 2004 again.
To grave violence before their
And this is another problem that I have, is that these people are approaching it with like such a stupid perspective.
What do you want?
To the extent that they get anything right, it's purely a coincidence.
Are fully developed.
That's what I think.
So while this legal case is about gambling, they are also pushing harm. This makes the lawsuit much harder to settle quickly. They want disgorgement of ill-gotten gains and a permanent stop to these features. So if you're a CS2 player, trader, or just someone who just follows Valve, this is where you might be wondering, well, what actually happens next? And well, we could see regional locking. We've already seen this in places like Belgium and the Netherlands, where Valve might be forced to...
Belgium and the Netherlands have like they have the strictest loot box rules in any Western country. I'm not familiar with other countries like China and like what their rules are, but I know inside of the Western countries, it's Belgium and the Netherlands that are the most aggressive and most consumer friendly with these practices.
Stable case openings entirely for New York. Depending on how serious this gets and how Valve takes it, if the court finds that third-party sites are facilitated by Valve, they may be forced to adjust the API that allows those sites to function. But also, if New York wins, we could see other states like California or Illinois follow up.
Well, you're going to see every company change their policies based off of it. It's the same as like how every website now bans you for being under 13. It's because of a legal requirement for not following and collecting data on people under 13. It's called COPPA.
For over 10 years, Valve has operated in a legal gray area, but the state of New York is no longer playing games. Attorney General James is seeking to permanently stop Valve from continuing to promote illegal gambling in its games and to pay disgorgement and fines. This is one of the most significant legal threats to Valve we have seen in a long time, and we could see some major changes because of it. As the Attorney General put it, illegal gambling can be harmful and lead to serious addiction problems.
I don't see how illegal. What I don't understand is that illegal and legal gambling are addictive. Like, it's like, you know, if you make illegal cigarettes or you're making moonshine that you're technically not allowed to do, and you become an alcoholic from that, like, both of these people and the ones that become alcoholics from like liquor that you can buy at a store, they're both alcoholics. Like, it's about state control. Exactly. Like, I don't understand this.
My office is suing to stop Valve's illegal conduct and protect New Yorkers. But I want to hear from you. Do you think Valve is at fault here and could be hit with some serious consequences? If you want to stay updated on this brand new case against Valve, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, I watch Water CS2's videos a lot about Valve. He covers all the Valve stuff that happens. And, like, I can see, like, the problem, what makes me mad about this is that I know that they actually do have a point with this, where, like, CSGO skins and everything. I mean, like, here's really the question, right? And I think everybody should be honest about this. Is CSGO skin case unboxings, is this gambling? I think absolutely it's gambling. It's not even a question if it's gambling or not. it is 100 fucking % gambling. But even with that, that doesn't mean that, oh wow, like if gambling is so bad, then why don't you go after sports gambling and also prediction markets? Like both of these are obviously way fucking bigger than CSGO, but, and then also, I also don't like the mindset that, because people might say, oh, well, this is for kids. Number one, Counter-Strike is an M-rated video game, which is 17 plus. So if you're not 17 or over, you shouldn't be playing it. Number two, do you really think that kids aren't watching ESPN? You really think that they don't see these prediction markets? Like, what is this? And I just feel like it's once again another example of them basically trying to... I think that they're trying to clear the board in order to avoid other companies that maybe they have closer ties to being accountable, or like with TCG stuff. Yeah, exactly. Someone said because the Rothschilds lost the case. Yeah, and that's another thing too, is that like this is kind of like an unspoken thing. Like this is getting into conspiracy territory, so you know, like just be aware of that. How is it that they immediately lose this case with the Rothschilds and then right after that New York sues them? Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just very coincidental. It's good timing, right? Win against the Rothschild, global power structure punchers back. Huh? Wait, what? What is this here? Epic CEO. Epic CEO. I don't know what that is exactly. Wait till New York hears about Mojang. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you want to make a categorical ban on loot boxes, then I think that you have, like, an ethical foundation to do that under. But really, I mean, you know, with Counter, I don't know, can you really make money opening these boxes, or is it kind of like gotcha games where you're probably going to lose money if you get involved with it? I think you're wrong with comparing to Polymarket. Well, I don't think that I am, and here's the reason you can't. I really don't know the answer to that. That's the truth. The reason why I think that it's not, it's the same thing, is that you are wagering money, and you are wagering some sort of collateral with an outcome that you can't control. And if the outcome happens in the way that you want it to, you get a huge payout. And if it doesn't, you get a much smaller payout. It's like trading cards. Yeah, or something like that, right? And just in general, like, that's at least, that's the way I feel about it.
What do you want?
So somehow, I don't know how this has happened, but the Ashes of Creation lawsuit has just actually gotten a lot more serious. There we go. Let's watch it.
Because everyone is suing everyone. Maybe I'll even sue you, the viewer, just for the hell of it. 'Cause today it's time to find out about what's up with Ashes of Creation and how it imploded. Things have gotten much messier over the last few weeks. Intrepid, we're supposed to have a live stream on the 13th of February to showcase the future
Oh yeah, whatever happened with that? I guess it didn't happen.
of the game, but there was the slight problem that everyone
being
working
shut down.
there was laid off with no pay
Yeah.
or no severance.
Ooh, not
What
so
people want is clarity on what happened. People have not gotten that,
I
but
wonder
what we
why.
have got is loads of lawsuits and a hell of a story for us to go through today. Staff are suing Intrepid, investors are planning suits against creative director and former CEO Stephen Sharif, and
bet.
Sharif himself has delivered on his promise, because he's also brought legal action against the people he claims have stolen the company from him in a
Wow. So he's suing. Holy shit.
multi-year scam designed to end with them being on top. It's quite a lot. Now, these are freshly filed suits, and they only reflect the events and the opinions of each plaintiff, right? So it reflects
course.
what they want to put forward. You need to remember that everyone is going to make themselves look good,
Yeah, of
and the
course.
people that they're suing look awful. That's how these things go. So today, we're actually not discussing reality. We are discussing allegations. And boy, are there some damning allegations to discuss. Let's begin with the staff. And the good news is, this is the most clear-cut bit of legal action. As early as February 4th, laid-off developers were filing class action lawsuits arguing that Intrepid broke the WARN Act, issuing notices,
Yep.
and then immediately firing everyone. They're
Which
demanding
seems like that was true.
unpaid wages, severance, and the lost 60 days of notice, plus a ruling that the layoffs were illegal. The question then is who bears responsibility. And this is where everyone else's lawsuits come in. See, I
Yeah, it's nobody's fault, right?
told
Of
you
course.
the employee bit would really be the clear-cut one. Now we're going to get into murky waters. But I've actually got a quick update to your EDC first, thanks to Ridge, today's sponsor. Now, they've been my go-to wallet for years now. I use the wallet, I use the key case. Love my key case in gunmetal and in leather. They're gorgeous. And they've also leveled up, now with the Ridge 2.0, which is lighter, it's more modular, and it pairs with their new tracker card. It's of course Apple Find My compatible with a nice 95 decibel ringer, and it's wirelessly rechargeable.
It's convenient.
Losing one's wallet sucks. With this, it won't happen again. And since we won't
I've
be
had the same wallet since 2003.
losing a Ridge wallet, it's good
Ever
they've
since
now
middle
launched
school.
their built-for-life warranty that covers damage,
Kept it
lost,
the
and
whole
even
time.
stolen gear, which is kind of unheard
never
of.
felt the reason to
And
get
on
rid
top
of
of
it.
that, the big news is their anniversary sale is now live, up to 40% off everything, and they have new colorways, which are some of their best yet. There's iridescent, forged fetty, and ocean light.
Wow.
And if you've been waiting
Oh,
for a reason
wow.
to pull the trigger, this really is the time. Between the wallets, the power bank, the key case, everything they do Ridge is basically just my EDC at this point. You'll get up to 40% off with a 99-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty at ridge.com/bellular. Just head to that URL, go sort yourself out. Or, you know, gifts. They're really good for gifts. Thanks to Ridge for sponsoring the video. A company called
Base.
TFE Games Holdings LLC sued Stephen Sharif and his husband John Murr on February 9th, as spotted by Theory
I didn't know this at all.
who's doing
This is new.
fantastic work surfacing all of this as it happens.
Holy
so
shit.
TFE now owns Intrepid and the assets of Ashes of Creation, and they claim
Right.
that Sharif has actively withheld documents, passwords, and more, breaching his fiduciary duty to the company and to the board. And this is apparently why staff haven't been paid and why the warrant obligations are not being met, because they quite literally can't get to the funds. And on top of that, Sharif allegedly did not warn the board about a $3.5 million credit claim on incoming Steam revenue. And
That's huge. So he didn't say that because there was I'm assuming that there was a credit claim that they had from the bank that basically didn't do that.
filing also alleges that between 10 and $20 million of the 130 million raised for Ashes of Creation are unexplained, unrecorded,
What?
quote, misappropriations. And then
What?
there are the loans.
10
About
to $20 million?
$362,000 to Sharif, 6.7 million to Murr, and 4.86 million in undocumented.
Wait, defendant Sharif made or caused to be made certain unauthorized transfers to himself totaling $4.8 million with no documentation or indication that such transfers, whether such transfers were a loan, salary, fee, reimbursements, shareholder distribution, or gift. The, quote, Sharif transfers.
Personal transfers to Sharif and
Wow.
$8.5 million to purchase a property that was then sold, with the loan never being repaid.
What
So
the fuck?
that's a lot of allegations.
Sold the property for $8.5 million and never repaid the company?
It seems there's a lot of money moving around
What
with
the
record
fuck?
keeping that doesn't adequately explain it. So, TFE are
Oh my
demanding
God.
repayment of outstanding loans, plus the documents they legally
Plaintiff is
believe
entitled
are
to joint
theirs,
relief. Yeah, of
going
course.
so far as to get a temporary restraining order that would compel turnover and prevent deletion.
Jesus.
Quite a lot. And much of this aligns with a viral video from YouTuber Nephis QS,
Oh
who
my
was
God.
approached by investor Jason Karamanis. Now, Karamanis is not currently named in any of these lawsuits.
Yeah.
He's just providing evidence and his account of events. Now, he claims that he introduced Stephen Sharif to Robert Dawson, a major backer, and helped secure the funding that led to Dawson contributing $80 million in total. Because, well, money follows money.
Yeah,
If you're
of
going to
course.
contribute a lot of money, it will certainly look good if others have done similar.
Yeah, sure.
But in a way, that's the boring numbers. What's more engaging is that this was an hour of sweary, very angry conversation, including calling Sharif and Moore, quote, insane pathological narcissists. So there was no
What
love
the
lost
fuck?
between...
Wait, let me read this. Stephen and his husband John stole money out of the company and paid a certain amount of money a year salaries each, plus paid for their San Diego house when they purchased with investors' money after John took out the deposit on San Diego home. All I can say about Stephen and John is that they both had insane pathological narcissists that convinced people that they were fucking ballers with mega millions in the bank when he had not put one penny into the company. So all this shit about him putting all the money into the company is 1,000% false and a lie. Oh my God.
Sharif and Moore, quote, insane
Wow,
pathological narcissists. So there is no
that's a
love
lot.
lost
Didn't
between
expect that.
Karamanlis and Sharif. However, allegedly there are millions of dollars lost. This is stuff lost to him based on personal investments, while he's claiming that Sharif never invested a cent of his own money. Karamanlis claims that Sharif and Moore paid themselves $500,000 a year and alleges that Sharif's warning to Commerce West Bank was to protect a loan on their home by ensuring that the Steam revenue couldn't be used for staff payroll. So that would be the credit stuff in the Steam revenue. If true, that's quite wild, isn't it? Now, he claims to know this because he says he's got data, and Karamanlis shared financial documentation and personal text.
The next billion-dollar game? What is he saying? The next billion-dollar game I'm announcing tonight? Oh my god, you get an early sneak peek.
Text with Nefis QS showing a total debt for Intrepid somewhere between $100 and $140 million. Now, the texts mostly show two businessmen trying to convince each other to invest or to pay back loans, with Karamanlis becoming increasingly hostile as it begins to become clear that he's not getting his returns.
Yeah, you can see very clearly. Well, I guess, okay, that's all on one day.
But there is one person who we haven't heard from yet in this story.
Is the guy
And that
put
is,
in
of
$80
course,
million?
Stephen. When we last left this story,
yeah,
it
that's
was with a promise from Stephen Sharif. He intended to
explain
file
more.
legal action and
Exactly.
hoped that that would give everyone, quote, a better understanding of what happened. And as of Valentine's Day, he's filed as well. Now, Sharif is suing Intrepid and their current board, led by Robert Dawson, plus Dawson's company, TFE Games Holding, which now controls Ashes of Creation. He's suing to stop them from selling the IP and the assets, to undo the foreclosure that transferred ownership, and to remove the board entirely. And here's his account of how things got to this point. It begins, of course, with the 2017 Kickstarter, and we learned that Intrepid was running on debt from day one. That basically means investor loans that would convert to equity or would have to be repaid. Now, Sharif
I feel like that also could it could make it seem like that if there's like a lawsuit for the other investors and he's misleading people, telling them that he invested into it himself, and if that's actually not true, like I feel like that's kind of a really big deal. That's a huge
but
big
he
deal.
was not a shareholder. And Moore sat on the board. Now, by 2020, they secured a $6 million loan with Commerce West Bank, with Moore guaranteeing that loan and the company's IP being used as collateral. Now, in 2021, Sharif is introduced to Dawson, who then spends the next 4 years putting money into Intrepid. But in 2023, Sharif alleges that Dawson talked him out of selling the game for millions to a major developer, allegedly
Why would they do
Riot
that?
Games. That's
Riot
according
was gonna
to
buy
Karamanlis.
it?
Now that shifted things, and
Wait a
as
minute,
this
so
account
Riot
of
was
things
gonna buy Ashes of Creation. That's fucking insane.
shows, Dawson then realized how valuable this game could be, but also he wouldn't be able to, quote, turn as quick a profit as he had hoped. And from there, Dawson allegedly began pushing for more shares. And the alleged examples are rather striking, demanding a warrant granting 10% of the company for $10, or zero-cost equity options on his debt.
Yeah,
Those
makes
are,
sense.
to put it mildly, fairly bold asks. Now, why would Sharif and the board agree to this? Well, the claim here is that Dawson threatened them, that he threatened to cut off payroll, to sue the company, and to financially ruin Sharif, or even to physically harm him. And Sharif claims that this took a serious personal toll. And I'll read a quote. An extreme health crisis, including a hypertensive emergency and acute kidney failure, hospitalization, and vision loss from blood pressure complications, including muscular edema. That is quite horrible. So you can see as we go through Sharif's filing here that it's really quite rough sounding.
This is
now,
insane.
here's where it gets interesting, because in January 2024 it seems that something happened. But here, the filing is redacted. But it seems what happens is that Dawson ends up in control. He ends up being
This is one hell of a rabbit hole. It sure is.
largest shareholder, largest debtor, and the person running the finances and the board. He then forces Moore off, appoints a new CFO, and requires Moore to transfer his shares to Sharif. Now, Sharif retains creative control, but the threats then continue. Dawson and his deputies, quote, frequently threatened to harm Stephen and his loved ones physically if Stephen did not comply with his demands.
What?
And importantly,
So wait, so this guy was threatening to beat the shit out of Steven?
Dawson secured all of his debt against the assets of Intrepid. But the story's not over, it keeps on going. By September 2024, he's chaired the board, he's directing the
Allegedly,
CFO
yes,
to open
obviously.
new bank accounts, and by August of 2025, he's appointed the rest of the board. And Stephen Sharif claims that he is instructed not to publicize this. So, not to publicize anything about the board. Now, that's...
That is... What the fuck, man?
September, the board then decides to launch on Steam, and the CFO tells Commerce West Bank that the income from the Steam release will cover their outstanding balance.
I thought it was like millions of dollars.
Sharif's central claim
no
here
way.
is that all of this was deliberate, that Dawson was engineering a default so that TFE, his company, could seize the assets that he had just secured his debts against. And here's how that plays out. Valve refused to use the new Dawson-controlled accounts for payouts. Then January has things speed up, where on the 7th, Dawson then moves the beneficiary of all of his debts to TFE.
Right.
the company. On the 14th, he tells investors he has a plan to fix the debts, to foreclose on Intrepid, and to secure enough capital to release Ashes of Creation September 2026.
September? Yeah, fucking right. Oh my god, there's no way that would have happened. So basically, this guy took a bunch of investment from this person, and then he got browbeat into giving this person more power, and then this person made them put the game on Steam because they thought that it would speedrun them being able to basically recover their assets and their money back. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, again, all this is, I mean, this is what Steven's saying, right? So who knows?
Is likely the original plan to lay off most of the staff and
Look at the Iran thing after
development that we discussed in our previous coverage of this story. Now, Sharif then supposedly spoils this, where on the 15th, he tells Commerce West Bank what's up, and they issue a default statement on their loan. Dawson then follows through on the 16th. Intrepid defaults, and all the assets go to TFE via a, quote, private sale with no notice to other creditors. Sharif then resigns following multiple attempts to stop all of this, and he claims
It's
there was
crazy that happened in January. I feel like that happened like 2 weeks ago. Shit just happens so fast now. Like, I feel like all the time there's like news, like crazy things that are happening constantly, like every day nowadays.
board meeting on the 30th
Jeez.
that had witnesses suggesting a plan to make him the fall guy, and this plan was already in the works because the CFO had filed false documents with the California registry, and those are the documents I showed you in our last video. Now, the warn notice is then filed on the 31st. Staff are all axed on the 2nd. Sharif alleges that this was because the $5 million that Valve were meant to send for early access sales was in fact intercepted by Commerce West Bank because Dawson did not control those finances. Valve then suspended trading with Intrepid
Can you
on
imagine them having Steam having to deal with this shit? Oh my god.
the 3rd. And TFE
you
are
imagine, like, they're
allegedly
trying to, like,
offering
steal the
former
money from
employees
each other?
money to get access to the game, and that they're doing
It
that.
makes no sense. I mean, I don't know. Like, again, this is one of those things where it's like, I bet everybody probably engaged in an element of bad faith behavior. Who engaged in more bad faith behavior? Who really is the worst bad actor? That's up for the courts to decide whether fraud was committed or anything else. Like, that's not that's out of my pay grade. I have no idea.
Whilst they're trying to line up buyers for it. As for Stephen Sharif's defense, well, he denies all the accusations of misleading investors,
do
of
it.
misappropriating funds, the whole lot. Of course, TFE and at least one of his other investors disagree with that. And thus far, in this video, we have seen the core arguments from the core parties. You have to remember, this is people's charitable accounts of themselves and uncharitable accounts of all the other people in the situation, because everyone is ultimately trying to win their lawsuit. And that means you should treat these as narratives that people are putting out there, and we just have not went through the full legal process to untangle what is actually happening here. And of course, the hope is that that legal process would actually be useful. And that would be because of things like the discovery process, where documentation is...
I mean, if they go through the text messages and the communications, like, this is over. Like, they're going to immediately figure it out. And I think that it could be a case where, like, really, it's a case where, like, there are no winners, right? There's just, like, who loses more. It's a good chance.
Now, with that said, let me boil this all down to the core stuff to remember about what's going on with this game. The common thread here is kind of simple. It's that Intrepid was a company that just kept wheeling and dealing to keep its lights on right up to the very end. And from the framing of Karmanis and Dawson, they are heroes who try to salvage the game from, quote, insane pathological narcissists who would have never released anything and I suppose would have kept flipping off funds from the game into houses and lifestyle and all that. From Stephen Sharif's perspective, he is the victim of an abusive group of investors who scheme for years to benefit themselves at the expense of developers, the players, and of course, himself.
Yeah, I thought about messaging Steven and being like, bro, like, I'm sorry to see what happened with the game, but, like, honestly, this stuff is just, like, it's just been, like, so complex, I just, like, assumed he wouldn't even reply. I was gonna be like, sorry to see what happened with the game. You know, I think that we were all pretty excited for it. But, yeah, I mean, that's it. These types of shareholder derivative cases usually take 3 to 5 years. Oh, God. Well, hey, at least it's going to take less time than the game would take to come out, right?
Right. Who's wrong? We cannot say right now. Do expect that almost everyone will come off worse than their own account of themselves. That's how these things tend to go. But basically, court battles to decide who's right and who's wrong are only just beginning. There will be more updates on this channel as it develops. And if the complete wasted potential of this really gets you activated, well, check out this video next about Blue Point, about PlayStation.
Oh, it's so sad to see that.
Some potential has been squandered.
It's awful. Let me link you guys this video. This is a good video. I didn't know anything about these new lawsuits. I had no idea about this. This is the first time I'm looking at it or seeing it or anything. And I'm not that surprised, but at the same time, it's quite disappointing, isn't it? It's very disappointing. I hope Narc comes back. He has no content now. Yeah, I guess not, right? Johnny Somali got destroyed in court. Holy shit. Thank fucking God. I am so happy to see this happen. This is what you call the happy ending. This is the good ending. This is the right ending.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, was absolutely crushed today in court, and we have massive consequences as the FAFO hits. We're going to get into that today on The Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm
How about that?
American attorney over here in Asia, and this is a Fast Facts video, the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. And of course, we've been following the Johnny Somali trial from the beginning and giving you
Again, you've got to understand that a person like this is like really not that much. Like, these people are functional animals. They act like animals. They have no impulse control. They have no emotional regulation. Honestly, you could train a dog better than you could probably train Johnny Somali. So when you see a person acting out like this, really, it's not even in a case their fault. It's just the way that they are. It's just bad crazy bad spawn RNG.
Real narrative, the real facts, the real consequences on what's going down in Korea for Johnny Somali. And we are at the end here. We indeed had a massive hearing today that actually had a little bit of a twist, which we'll get into and get into the details here. So today's hearing, we thought, was just going to be involving modifying the indictment.
Isn't it crazy that, like, Johnny Somali was like the unspoken harbinger of the Minnesota fraud? Like, we didn't even realize that there was a connection at all until, and like, this is the type of thing where like all the pieces of the web come together and make the full picture. You believe that?
Potentially either, you know, modifying the deepfakes, adding charges, maybe doing something else like that. But what they threw in was they added in closing arguments. Typically that is done on a different day, but they allowed those closing arguments to proceed today. So we actually have an update on Johnny Somali's closing argument and his whole spiel, his his last attempt to make his defense, which failed miserably.
What a surprise.
We had the Somali conviction being present there, taking notes, taking transcripts, so we have very good details there.
He blamed it on South Korean culture? Yeah, of course he did.
Hank in the courtroom. This is the second time that Hank has not been there in the courtroom with Ramzi.
That was his friend.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, RKI, made a very bad argument. That was
no way.
actually received. Everybody in the court
No
was
way.
shocked by Patrick making these statements and going this angle with his closing argument.
He's just a
And
retard.
Even the
That's what
judge
retards do.
had a visible bad reaction to what he was doing. The prosecution
it's so-
also gave the recommended punishment, and it is way worse than most people would have expected, and
Beautiful.
actually has some real consequences for
Absolutely
him, even
beautiful.
in the United States. So we'll talk
Wow.
about that as well. So let's jump right into it, guys. In case you don't know, Ramsey
Look at
Cliff
all of these charges. Holy shit.
Ismail is facing 8, yes, 8 different charges. That's 4 obstruction of business, 2 minor offenses acts, and 2
Jesus.
deepfakes.
Look at
Now,
this guy.
He's been trying to get rid of this deepfake with Jungmann and also
Uh-huh.
the one with Bongbong, trying to kind of knock both of those things off because that's stuff that carries serious.
It's illegal in not China, in South Korea to make deep fakes of people without their consent. And he did that, and he had one of like making out with this girl, and this is like super illegal over there.
prison time.
That's what
and
happened.
That's the thing where you can't wiggle out with a fine.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's already guilty on all these other counts. He already pled guilty to all these counts. But he's fighting these 2. He was really banking on today being a day where they drop those deepfakes because these deepfakes.
And look at this here: rotting fish harassment, disrupting bus system, North Korean propaganda, disrupting 7-Eleven, twerking on a bus. Bro, what a fucking, what an animal! Oh my god!
Prison time mandatory recommendations.
It's crazy.
And he's got 2 of them on his account. They had this motion to modify the indictment, and they filed this days ago. I kept that under wraps because I wanted to see where this went and how this played out. Obviously, if there was a modification, we wanted to explain it. So today we found out during the hearing what that was. RKI was hoping this was going to be the deepfake drop. They were going to get rid of the Jungmann deepfake because he had a quote-unquote unofficial settlement with Jungmann. But mind you, in the Korean system, the prosecutors have all of the authority as to whether or not a charge is dropped.
Yeah, it's like a charge against the state or against society, not against that person necessarily. So even if that person forgives you, my understanding of it is that, like, I mean, this is the way the legal system works. You still have to go through the process the same as anything else.
What they do with the charge.
It's not like you can just undo that by saying that the person doesn't care.
So even if you receive a settlement with a victim saying, hey, or somebody else, the other
Same as
party
domestic
there,
in the US,
because
exactly.
these people, Jungmann and RKI, both showed the deepfake, and the deepfake was of Jungmann and Hank making out naked.
This was
very definitely fits the deepfake statute to a T. But the prosecution did not drop the charge. In fact, they did not even mitigate the charge. All they did was update a table of contents and update dates and times of some of the crimes, including some of the deepfakes. They
Did
updated
not
those
fucking
to
matter.
be correct. So
I
all
love
they
it.
did was issue corrections to dates and times. So this is a massive, massive loss for RKI.
Mega L.
His whole case was
Omega
banking
L.
on getting rid of these deepfakes. So let's jump into his closing argument. What did he say? And this is the words of Johnny Somali, aka Ramsey Cletus.
Oh god. Oh no, here we go.
I'm going to break it down and then we'll do some analysis. So Ramsey said, I sincerely apologize for my actions in Korea. I express remorse for the incident for which I was charged. I have been held captive here in Korea
Held captive. Oh
for
no.
a year and a half, during which time
He's the victim.
I committed no crimes. That, by the way,
It's not even true.
That's very debatable, as he's got other pending stuff being investigated as criminal activity he would eventually commit.
These people can't stop, like they can't follow rules. They just can't do it. The only way you can deal with a person like this is to just institutionalize them and put them in a box, and that's it. Like, this is one of the problems, like, a lot of people in, like, Western culture and, like, civilized society don't like this reality, is that some people are just functional animals. And the only way that you can deal with them is by removing their impact on the rest of the world. That's it.
He says, I learned to integrate into society during that time.
Nothing else is ever going to work.
I did some foolish things under the influence of alcohol, and I realized the consequences.
It's alcohol's
sincerely apologize for this. Having been born and raised in the United States, I did not realize how serious the consequences of the actions were, which would not be considered criminal in the U.S. and could be in Korea. I'm going to pause there. this statement and this framing, being sorry not
do you
for
want?
what you really did, but sorry for the consequences.
Yeah.
This is very
I didn't
similar
know.
to when he said, I'm sorry this offends
What
your
do you
honor
want?
in his
Yeah, exactly.
previous apology about the comfort woman statute. It's
Yep.
not actually his actions he feels remorseful for,
It's
but
their
the fact that
response.
there are consequences
Yes.
for his actions. Let's continue. I reached an agreement with Lee Jung-chuk, that's Jungman, regarding the 2 deepfakes. That's actually false. He only received a settlement regarding one. The other was with Bong Bong. He doesn't have a settlement with her. And he no longer seeks punishment. Bong Bong made it clear in court that she was unaware distributing deepfake videos was a crime and initially viewed them as not sexual content, but funny images. If she, a Korean, did not recognize the same act as a crime, how could he, an American, have known it was? When I asked
Oh, God, bro. Like, this is like an 11th grader, man. Who comes up with this?
Bong whether he had defendant's counsel consent to distribute the videos, Bong Bong said no. The law is unfair. Since the police didn't do anything when I tried to report Bong Bong, all I'm asking is for the law to be applied fairly. I want to appeal to the prosecution and police. It's unfair if Bong Bong and I receive different punishments. I'm still young. I want to see my family and go home. Please show leniency. So
absolutely not. Absolutely. I hope that they make his life hell. This guy is such a retard. He's so aggressive. He's not sorry for anything. The best thing that you can do is put him in a box and keep him there. And that's it.
that is all of his arguments. So essentially, once again, in closing, Ramzi Khalid Ismail is arguing that his ignorance of Korean culture led him to attack shopkeepers. That it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to attack shopkeepers in America. The worst thing about it is that in some places he's not wrong.
In America to throw ramen at people, to curse, to disrupt business. Actually, no, it's not. A lot of those things would also be criminal in the United States, RKI, right? A lot of those behaviors, even in the U.S., wouldn't be okay. We're trying to say that's Korean culture. The judge did not like that at all. He also claimed that Jungman doesn't want punishment, but it doesn't matter that Jungman doesn't want punishment. It's up to the prosecutors to determine whether to bring that forward or not.
Why would they punish her? She's the one that's having it happen to her.
Last he attacked Bong Bong, and you see how much he focused on this is unfair. Well, this argument, as I've said from the beginning of this case, is a loser in any country when it comes to criminal defense. You cannot say I should be innocent because you didn't charge this other person who did the same thing.
This is like I was speeding
analogy.
Yeah, right. Okay, everybody knows this.
Give that guy a speeding ticket, therefore you can't give me a speeding ticket.
But were you speeding?
It simply doesn't work anywhere on earth, and him trying to use
it's an argument that's it's an argument made by a person with the mind of a child.
This here was always a loser strategy, and the fact that he played it out is actually full comedy. And
he's a
once
retard.
again, saying he's only really sorry for these consequences of his actions. Right?
Yes.
No knowledge. Ignorance of the law is not a defense,
No, it's not.
particularly in this case when he was on a spree. Continuing, the judge visibly reacted and gave side-eye. This is something that was perceived by the Somali Conviction Court. The judge is normally very serious, very straight-laced, no nonsense, but he had an actual physical reaction when RKI tried to blame ignorance of Korean culture. And when he started to attack Bong Bong.
Who's RKI? That's Johnny Somali's full name.
That he should be punished. That did not go well with anybody in the room. The
Big
prosecutors,
surprise.
the judge, they were not having.
Who would have guessed?
Not entertained by that. This argument that the law is unfair and the police didn't do anything about Bong Bong and that they received different punishments, that did not work at all. No one in the court thought that apology was sincere, and nobody was buying that argument. So what did the prosecution drop? Well, they dropped their sentencing recommendation, and it is insane. The prosecution suggested 3 years in prison with labor. Yes.
Man, it's finally happening. See, I've been asking for this for a while, and South Korea's doing it. See, this is what we need to do. We gotta do this same thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, labor. A fine of 150,000 Korean won, which is the maximum. If they could give more, they probably would give more. And sex offender registration. That is a bombshell. One of the biggest bombshells today.
3 years.
Sex offender registration.
This doesn't include the deepfake charges?
To adopt the prosecution's recommendation.
Oh my God.
Or only give a little bit below. So 2 to 3 years, very reasonable to say. You know, they recommended 3, maybe they give 2. Very reasonable to predict that.
Yeah,
the
sure.
fine, registration, that's the very, very likely ruling that's going to come up during sentencing, which will be the next hearing.
Forced labor, you love this shit? See, this is, yeah, I told y'all, like, this is the way you handle these people. You do.
His 2 smartphones are also forfeited. He is not going to get those back.
He lost his phone.
And as part of being a registered sex offender, his labor will only be with other prisoners, right? So likely he is going to get factory labor job or prison toilets because he is not going to be allowed as a sex offender in Korea to interact with normal people. And that is probably the best for normal human beings in Korea.
So he can't even pick cabbages? It says cabbage picking outside, maybe off the table. No, no, no. You can't even pick cabbages.
Not have to interact with Ramsey Ismail, Johnny Somali. So cabbage picking, unfortunately, I know we have our lovely
no cabbages
lovely
for you
here coming soon.
Oh, God.
But cabbage picking may be too good for him because that would actually involve him working with other people.
Oh, you can't
They're
have
also
that happen.
required to make a public disclosure, let everybody know about his sex offender status, and also put him on a mandatory sex offender treatment. So that's all part of the recommendation there.
Jesus, bro, this guy is getting wrecked.
So also, as a registered Korean sex offender, RKI, and this is the U.S. law where I come in, may be required to register as a U.S. sex offender under federal law.
Because if he's from another country,
Now, this is interesting because convictions under the laws of any foreign country
oh my God,
require you to register as long as that conviction was fair and had due process.
Yeah, sure.
South Korea meets this standard. He went through a lot of due process. This is considered fair by U.S. law, so South Korea is considered a fair country. It's not North Korea. It's not some sort of, other country like Cuba or something like that that's going to have unfair political laws, etc. Because South Korea would meet that standard. So,
dude, imagine being such a retard you can't even pick cabbages. Like, I mean, really. Think about how bad you have to be for that. You're not even allowed to pick a cabbage.
He's required to register upon 3 days of entering the U.S.
Jesus.
So he must register in any U.S. jurisdiction where he resides, works, or attends school. Failure to register in the U.S. can carry a 10-year jail sentence. So that is waiting for him after he gets out of jail in South Korea.
So it could be even worse.
Massive.
Oh, I love it.
The next trial date is set for April 15th, 2026.
So he's got 2 more months. He's got to deal with this.
And now this is very funny. The judge asked him, hey, do you want to be sentenced quickly? And Johnny Somali said, yes, I'd like to be sentenced quickly. And essentially ignored his wish in a little F you to Somali. Ignored that and normal procedure.
Do you want it? Okay, well, you're not going to get it.
Which is setting the sentencing 2 weeks after closing arguments.
Yeah.
These were closing arguments. 2 weeks after, it would still be this
April 15th,
early March or
tax
mid-March.
day.
No, we're going to put it in April 15th. So they set it for 2 months instead. So even on the way out, it looks bad for Johnny Somali. This
They're
is
tired
a
of
total
his ass,
loss
man.
for Cabbage Boy. I want to know what you guys
Boy.
think about love.
Oh my fucking God. This is beautiful. I can't believe this even happened. I mean, really, like, this is a total blowout. And now they're going to make him work out in a factory cleaning toilets for 2 years of mandatory labor. This is fucking beautiful. Here, I'll link you guys the video. I love this so much. Yeah, see, this is the way these people need to be treated. This is the way you need to deal with them. 3 years, we said it'll probably go down to 2. But maybe you're right. Good things still happen, fortunately. Exactly. I am so happy to see this. Again, whatever we can do, whatever anybody can do to take a person like this and get them out of civilized fucking society, the world will be a better place. And it's that simple, man. What are the chances he'll act up in that time? The problem with people like Johnny Somali, as I said, is they have no impulse control. They can't behave or do anything that makes any bit of sense or act in their own best interest. And this is the big problem that a lot of people don't really understand, right? is that they don't see how problematic this stuff actually is. They have no idea how bad it is. They're straight up animals. They are. And so the best thing that you can do for everybody is to just get them out of the ecosystem as much as fucking possible. So I'm glad to see that. Obviously, you know, we'll have to wait and see how things go. But April 15th will be a very big day, right? I mean, I think that'll be an insane day.
People who pass by more fast food restaurants on the way to work have a higher likelihood of being obese. And if this is true,
I wonder why that happens. What a mystery that must be.
I blame the drive-thru, because the drive-thru exploits quirks of human psychology.
Customers have been flocking to drive-thrus like never before.
Obesity rates are on the rise.
New research shows drive-thru service has become the meat of the business.
Sometimes you really don't want to leave your house. To be able to leave your house and not get out of the car.
An alarming trend.
Now, it's not the drive-thru's fault that we all find convenience the path of least resistance and instant gratification.
Do they have drive-thrus in other places in the world where everybody isn't fat? Yeah. So, like, maybe it's not the drive-thru, you know, because, like, everybody else has a drive-thru, and it's just happening to us, so it's like, is it really the drive-thru, though?
Gratification so attractive. But modern drive-thrus are so much more than that.
How may I help you?
Modern drive-thrus use behavioral science and something called dark nudging to manipulate you into eating more fast food. And when you pair hyper palatable, salty, sugary, fatty fast food with the insanely convenient drive-thru that's been literally optimized to make you make bad decisions, it's truly no wonder that some people just can't resist. Like these
Well, that's true. Certain psychological tricks maybe should be like, you know, demonized more and like maybe even illegal. But like, I bet they try this stuff in other countries too. Like, I bet they have pretty much the same menus. So like, how is this a problem with like the fast food if it's only really represented in one country? What are you getting at? What I'm getting at is I think that Americans have a self-control problem and they can't stop eating fast food and being fat and disgusting, and they're trying to blame it on the company because they don't want to take accountability for it. Make sense?
companies are studying the way our brains make decisions. How you choose between saying yes.
Every, like, a lot of different places are starting to do this. Like, video games do this with psychology as well.
To fast food or saying no to fast food, and then using this data to modify our behavior in a way that benefits them. And if you haven't noticed, this is happening from every angle these days. Whether it's TikTok or Twitter or food corporations or your governments. Everybody is investing big bucks into getting you to behave the way they want you to behave.
Oh, naturally.
And with drive-thru, the manipulation begins before you even hit the parking lot. But before we get into it, a message from today's sponsor.
Okay, it's just a quick message from me. I'm thinking of starting a kind of newsletter. I do so much research and writing on so many different topics, but a lot of it never makes it here to YouTube, so I thought a newsletter could be fun. Nothing formal, just messages from me in your inbox that you might enjoy. I don't really have a specific plan right now. It honestly could be months before I send anything, but I just wanted to see if any of you guys would be into it. So if you're interested...
It's a good idea. She should do that through Patreon. Patreon creates an avenue for that already with like creating like user-funded content. Like that's a good idea.
Interested in getting emails from me directly, click the link below and join the list. Thanks for your support, and now back to the video.
Yeah.
Many people don't realize the extent to which the drive-thru is fast food. Fast food restaurants didn't take off until American families started driving everywhere. And then fast food became this like natural extension of the sort of on-the-go lifestyle. As people spread out from the cities to the suburbs, everyone coming to a restaurant would be coming in a car. And so if you're a restaurant, you needed some way to deal with this.
Yeah, filter
First
out
came
all
the
the cars.
drive-in. You know in old movies, those diners with waitresses on roller skates taking your order from the parking lot? The drive-in was a whole event, a social meeting place, a date night, or fun family outing. But then came the drive-thru, which was kind of the opposite. No parking, no waiting, no hanging out, get your food, and then get back to whatever you were in the middle of doing. Fast forward to today.
Texting and driving.
The drive-thru is so heavily tied to the fast food experience that 47% of Americans would refuse to use a fast food restaurant if it didn't have a drive-thru, according to...
That's sad. That's really something. What's the obesity? How many people are fat? 39. That's pretty close to 47. You want to go into McDonald's to eat? You don't have to go into McDonald's to eat. You can go into the store and then place a to-go order and then walk out of the store. I did that like 3 days ago. Walking? Yeah, true.
A poll from earlier this year. Think about that. That means that if the insanely convenient drive-through lane wasn't an option, many, if not most, fast food sales would never even happen. And immediately you can see the power of convenience.
To be fair, if I think none of them had drive-throughs, it's not like these people will be like, oh, I can't use a drive-through. I guess I gotta go home and eat a salad. No, they're good. They're just gonna park and go in. All right, what do you got? Yeah, they're still gonna walk in. They say they wouldn't go into one, but I bet a lot of them would.
About this a lot in some of my other behavioral science videos, but our brains are extremely biased toward convenience in the path of least resistance. Like back in the 1950s when drive-thrus were originally invented, they were an instant hit. People immediately flocked to them.
Shit.
So much so that drive-thrus became this like cultural phenomenon at the time. Like look
like my mom said back in the day, she used to with her friends, like this is like back in like I guess the 60s or some shit. They would get together and they would pool together like $1 and they would go to Taco Bell or some shit. Maybe it was the 70s.
They tried to turn into a drive-thru.
Yeah, 3000
the
BC.
drive-thru liquor store, the drive-thru laundromat, dairy store. These drive-thru dairy stores are so convenient, even I enjoy shopping there. The drive-thru real estate firm.
Yep.
Okay, this last one deserves a really close look. 1958 Ford drive-thru sale. Just look at this little map. Look at this. Look at the path. Like this looks like an absolute nightmare. Drive-thru.
It does.
Anyway, point being, we love the simple, insanely convenient.
That looks like one of those things that you do in The Sims in order to kill the people in the city.
Of not having to get out of our cars to do stuff. McDonald's website says that they waited until 1975 to open their first drive-thru, but they claim that when they finally did it, it boosted sales at that location by a full 40%. And today,
Jesus.
McDonald's says that their drive-thrus account for a whopping 70% or more of their total U.S. revenue. And if you
I gotta tell you, McDonald's drive-thrus are next fucking level. They have the best drive-thrus. Because, like, they have that double drive-through shit where it's like you can go to one or the other. And then, like, they're like, oh, do you want to order with the app? And then, like, you can do that. Like, it's actually so good.
Ask yourself, well, why is
Chick-fil-A?
it that
Yeah, Chick-fil-A does that too.
insanely popular? The answer is the power of convenience.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before on my video about how convenience ruined breakfast, but
Ooh.
essentially it's not just that we're lazy, it's that our brains are wired to value convenient options. Behavioral science tells.
But a big part of it is being lazy, though. So, like, that's like a big part is also being lazy. And I think also, like, yeah, this makes sense. It does. But whenever your brain is wired a certain way to do something, there's a lot of things that people's brains are wired to do that they don't do. You still got to exercise self-control.
Us that if you want to make a behavior happen more often, make it easy.
That's
the
true.
more convenient it is for a behavior to occur, the more likely it is that the behavior will occur. And
That's
the
right.
original fast food
It's that
drive-thrus
simple.
of the 1950s kind of just accidentally stumbled upon this behavioral gold mine. They didn't realize at the time that their insane success was largely due to the fact that drive-thrus were appealing to our brain's biases. But today's drive-thrus are no accident. They are actively and intelligently exploiting these biases. Let's imagine the typical drive-thru situation. You're driving.
I feel like everything in every form of marketing exploits biases and consumer behavior. I do. I think that the foundation of marketing and sales is exploitation of human psychology in a way to make a person do something that they would not normally do. Because if they were already going to buy something, well, you wouldn't need to really market it or sell it.
Along on your way home from work, you're hungry, you're tired, you're feeling a little stressed from the rush hour drive, and you're anxious to finally get home and wind down from a long day. Unbeknownst to you, at that exact moment, you are the perfect, unsuspecting victim for the drive-thru. Why? Because all of these characteristics are risk factors for impulsive behavior.
You know what the biggest risk factor for impulsive behavior is? A lack of self-control. That's the biggest one. A lack of self-control. Somebody can't control themselves. Somebody doesn't know how to act. That's called being a bitch. And cocaine? Yeah, there's that too.
The brain makes decisions in basically two different ways, either rationally and thoughtfully, or impulsively and mindlessly. Something called System 1 and System 2 thinking. So
I think that for me personally, I plan out going like, so today, I will plan out, I am going to go to McDonald's after I go to my appointment, and I will sometimes plan out fast food restaurants I'm going to go to before I even get out of bed. And sometimes I might even plan them a day in advance, so I have it to look forward to. There's been a while since there's been like a nasty story about me. I'll give you a new one. I used to throw up in my own mouth in the morning with like acid reflux, and the fast food that I couldn't taste was the place that I would go to that day.
you buy something on impulse, it means that you did so without any prior plans or intentions to do so. And importantly, without rationally considering that choice. All of a sudden, you're overcome with this desire or impulse to take action, to seize that instant gratification. And before you know it, you do. This is behaving impulsively. And if you're thinking, that's totally me, I really gotta stop doing that, you are not the only one.
Why don't you just stop doing it? It's not like Ronald McDonald puts his fucking clown hand on your car and he goes, okay, you're gonna come right over here. All right, give me your money. If they could, they would.
Apparently, 58% of trips to limited service restaurants, aka drive-thrus, are already impulsive to begin with. I took this